Hello everybody. Today we will be talking about job design and work measurement. Remember, if we have a perfect designing of job and if we have a, a understanding of how to measure work, it is all we are talking about productivity. In fact, a good job design will help us to understand and employ what is expected and how it is to be done in a right manner. Similarly, work measurement will translate into a better performance and therefore a good appraisal that one worker can expect at the end of the day. So yes, the agenda for for this particular sessions would be of having job design being defined in the design decisions that we are looking into it, the trends in job design, the work measurement, basic compensation. Did I say about appraisal? Yes, that is what we are looking into. But this is what we will be talking every now and then, and definitely the incentive plans that we are talking in terms of monetary benefit. So yes, definitions would be discussed, the decisions to design jobs, trends in job design, work measurement, basic compensation system, and financial incentive plans. So let us begin with what exactly is job design, or what do we understand by the fact, as in job design definition is all about it. Remember, a job design is basically elaborating upon the function, or should I say, the work activities that an individual or a group has to carry out within a formal setting, right? So it is a group of activities or set of activities that an individual is supposed to accomplish during his or her work shift, or whatever the work objective is all about it. The objective of job design is to develop jobs that meets the requirement of an organization and its technology that satisfy the job holder's personal and individual requirement. This is of utmost priority that we are looking forward to it. Yes, job design decisions, what we are looking into it. So the ultimate job structures is who's going to do it, what is to be done, where it is to be done, as in a perfect location that we are looking into it, when it is to be done, as in the duration of the day, week, month, what are we looking at, why, organizational, or should I say the objective behind doing a particular job, and the right method of doing around it. So that we need to answer basically six questions, five W's and one H: who, what, where, when, why, and how. Again, person specific, on the time, on the duration, what exactly is to be done, how it is to be done, when it is to be done is what we are looking into it, and that is basically the job structures of any job per se. Remember, I said when it is to be done, probably a time of a day, time of a week, or time of a month. People might come up with a question: what is a job that needs to be done on a monthly basis? Let's say the HR fellow has to deliver the attendance sheets at the end of the month, or the finance fellow has to generate the salary slips at the beginning of the month, and so on and so forth. These are on monthly cycle that comes around it, and probably on a weekly cycles, whatever the consumption, whatever the week notification, or should I say the workloads or bottleneck that needs to be discussed on a weekly basis, and probably objectives are to be set for the forthcoming weeks thereby, and on a daily basis everybody understand the job or the shift what is being expected from them by the organization. So trends in job design, definitely yes, quality control is one of the part and parcel of the worker's job. Having a good, tight, and should I say the right product at least of the wastages is what we are looking at quality control. It is not only about effectiveness, but also we are looking at the efficiency of the worker. Cross training workers to perform multi skill jobs, definitely yes. People are not looking at into one particular job. We are now interested to do a plentiful of jobs and one profile. Now this is a person that was doing a three job profile, altogether three tasks that comes around it. So there is a lot of cross training that needs to be done. HR fellow might be trained to not only uh, get the list of absentees or attendance sheet, but also probably able to calculate the salary expected of them. The finance people can also do the same thing, but what can the essentially finance person has to do? Probably arranging fund for the salary to be disbursed at that point of time. So employee involvements and team approaches to designing and organizing work is what is the need of the hour. Informating ordinary workers through the internet or sharing of information, work processes, notices, circulars, is all that we need to go on an online fashion. Probably it might be an offline fashion also, the traditional method of circulating the things, and so on and so forth. But essentially, if we talk about the trends, this is what we are looking into it. Um, Quality is of primary importance. A worker has to be multi-skilled. There is an approach from an individual centric to a group centric. Altogether, it's a team effort that we are looking into it. And yes, everything is going onto the online fashion of the metaverse of as far as communication is concerned. We have an extensive use of temporary workers. Gone were the days when people used to join an organization, probably retire from that particular organization. Nowadays, there is, in fact, lean manufacturing is a concept that the organization has been growing up. That means we have definitely a least number of permanent employees. Then probably there's a category called regular employees. Then there's a category called contract employees. There's a category called temporary employees also. Everybody has got different perks and benefits to join around it. It is often seen that the contracted employees might be paid less because they are contracted only for the period of time. But probably that may never be the case. There might be the case where contracted employees might be paid on a higher end than even the regular or the permanent employees are called. Why? Because the contracted employees might bring a certain acumen, certain technical know-how, which the organization requires, and probably the contracted employee themselves would not like to be on a regular payroll because that would limit their income sources. So automation of heavy manual work, definitely from manual work, laborious work, things have shifted, machine have taken down. A glorifying example with the civil industry, probably nowadays a building, a multi-story building can be built up within a month altogether, and that too with the help of an electronic cranes to shift all the cement, all the building blocks, and so on and so forth. But that is all about heavy manual work has been automated altogether, which was usually done by laborers or workers or employees thereby. Creating alternative workspaces, something which we are looking into it. Yes, definitely yes. Now, with the advent of pandemic, people have been working from home, WFH, and we were earlier working from WFO or work from office, right? But the concept WFO was not prevalent. But with the advent of pandemic, it is WFH or work from home. But now the concept is WFA, work from anywhere. So people might work from home, work from cafe, work from the client's place, work from office, and so on and so forth. So it is all about alternative workplaces that we are looking out here. Organizational commitment to providing meaningful and rewarding jobs for all employees, as the case might be, as what we are looking forward to. Behavioral consideration in job design, balancing the specializations in a job and its content through enrichment can give us what? It gives a degree of specialization. This is what we are looking into it. The degree of specialization is very important. Similarly, there is something called job enrichment and versus job enlargement. Remember, job enlargement is wide in nature and job enrichment is vertical in nature. So you do a job of a supervisor, you do a job for manager, you do a job of a let's say a director. So this is all about enrichment. But when you're doing a job for production, probably for inventory, probably for control, for probably for quality, and you're just doing an enlargement of job. So ultimate job structure is all about specializations. Ultimate job structure is all about enrichment and enlargement. So balancing these specializations in its content enough is what we are looking as far as behavioral consideration is concerned. Then comes the socio-technical varieties. Now, what is socio-technical varieties? It's the compatibility between the technology and the work groups, compatibility between the machine and the man. It is understanding that people are working around it. Now, why do we go across it? This is why we are looking into it. We have a task variety as such. We have a skill variety. We have feedback, task identity, and autonomy. Now, what is task variety? A number of jobs that comes up. For example, a receptionist is not only greeting the customers, probably picking up the phones, probably writing mails on behalf of the company, probably booking plane ticket, aeroplane tickets for the executives of the company, and so on and so forth. See, look at the variety of tasks that the receptionist is supposed to do. And similarly, the skill needed for each of the tasks varies. And that is what we are looking into it. So, yes, socio-technological things are all about process and technology needs, as the case might be. And the worker groups, all the individual needs that comes around it. So this, the marriage between the man and the machine, the marriage between the technology and the team members, is what we are looking at, a socio-technical system, as the case might be. We look to the physical consideration in job design. Works physiology sets work rest cycle according to the energy expended in a various parts of the job. The harder the work, the more the need for the rest period. Remember, this is what, if it is very labor intensive, if it is very manual in nature, the work around it. So people need time to recuperate. People need time to re-energize as such. So ergonomics is a term used to describe the study of physical arrangement of workspace together with the tools used to perform a task. Fit the work to the body rather than forcing the body to conform to the work, as the case might be. Definitely, yes, this is what we are looking into it. As far as ergonomics is concerned, it's how compatible the individual is, how compatible the group is working with machine. And when I say machine, it can be a equipment also. I am sure most of you have heard about modular kitchens, modular shops, modular operation theaters, modular hotel rooms, and things like that. So everything is compatible and various understand. It is very easy to understand and comprehend the operations thereby. So that is what the physical consideration in job design has to be taken into taken into understanding. So let us understand the ultimate job design as far as work methods are concerned. How do we go around it? Remember, where a worker is supposed to be almost stipulated at one particular venue or vicinity in a particular workstation, if you're looking into it, or a particular job floor or a particular wing of the building that you can get. So you will always find the idea is, you 90% of the time, this worker, this gentleman or this lady would be found in a workplace which is fixed, more or less fixed. Similarly, it can be the other way around, wherein the workers are constantly interacting with other peoples, right? Wherein the worker's job, it's to move within the organization probably and interact with other workers, and it is, they are into a managerial position, supervisory position, probably allocating resources, garnering strength, or should I say opinion in favor of a particular job, and so on and so forth. So workers interacting with other workers, that we are looking into it. Similarly, for a production process, what we are looking into it, wherein it might be an intensive laborious thing, or it can be an extensive, or should I say mutually dependent, between a man and a machine, wherein there is a worker interacting with it. So you need to keep the work methods in mind while performing a job design, while designing jobs altogether, as what is to be expected thereby. Now comes work measurement. So we have completed with job design. Now we'll talk about the work measurement. Work measurement is a process of analyzing jobs for the purpose of setting standards, or should I say, what can be measured can be managed. Once we set standard. Now, how do we set standard? I have utilized a terminology called time. One of the best method of doing is time. So everybody who's working in a shift might be working for 8 hours a day, probably, or 12 hours a day, probably. I do not know. So we can slot it on a time basis, on a time duration, how many units can be produced, or how many sales can be made, or how many data can be captured, and so on and so forth. But these are things that needs to be measured around it. So why do we use it? Now this helps us if we can schedule work and allocate capacity, or should I say allocate manpower. Define whether you have, are you, are any manpower, there's a dearth of manpower in your organization, or there is ample amount of availability of manpower there. So if it becomes, scheduling becomes easy, or scheduling becomes a bit tight as far as allocation of the capacity comes around it. And definitely, once you have allocated the work, and once the worker sees the transparency in them, wherein the workers or the employees or the manager sees that the load he or she is carrying is almost equal or identical to the other person of the same category of employment carries across with it. So there is a mutual sense of understanding, trust, and motivation. Evaluate performances thereby and provide benchmark. If we look into it, we need to keep on doing about the providing of the benchmark as on when on basis, as the case might be. So this is why we require to schedule or measure work thereby. The most common methodology is time study, normal time formula that comes around. NT is represented by normal time, wherein we have an observed performance time per unit. Let's say somebody is producing a mobile phone, probably in 15 minutes a mobile phone has been assembled per unit. That means observed performance time into performance rating. Is this the right way of 15 minutes consuming one mobile? Is it 12 minutes or is it 20 minutes? What is the right method? In case if it is 20 minutes and the worker is doing it in 15 minutes, the worker is super efficient. But in case if it is the standard time is 12 minutes and the worker is taking around 15 minutes to assemble mobile, probably the performance rating tweaks against the workers altogether. So performance rating, how will I calculate this? This is why we have it. We need to understand. So remember, I said the performance rating is all about in the decimal formulas. Let's say 15 units of a person is working, is producing, is taking a time. 15 minutes is the time taken to produce a mobile or assemble a mobile. But if the standard time is 20 minutes, to assemble a mobile, the worker is much more efficient. So that means they are much more efficient. Whereas if it is 12 minutes is the standard time, the worker is taking longer time, 3 minutes extra. So it's not efficient at all. So NT into performance rating will be telling it to you. Time worked divided by the number of units into the standard performance rating that comes around it, which is standardized altogether. Remember, standard time is normal time plus allowances multiplied by normal time. Now this is what we are looking into it. So standard time is the normal time that is required plus if you have any allowances and normal time. If you fragment this thing, it will be NT, which is a common to both of them. So 1 NT into 1 is this plus NT into allowances is this. So standard time is basically normal time 1 minus allowances as the simple mathematical equilibrium which can be shown out here. It is absolutely which is understandable. Remember, the first statement is what is very important. Standard time for producing a mobile or assembling a mobile time is a normal time plus the allowances that the person is taking. So allowances to the normal time as they carried forward. So example, let us understand the time study example problem. Let's say if you want to determine the standard time for a job, any job per se, the employee selects a study hours to produce 20 units of product. It might be a mobile, probably let us stick with the mobile, 20 units of mobile in an 8-hour shift, 20 units in an 8-hour shift. You observe that the employee is nervous and probably the employee worked 10% faster, maybe new to the job and probably has put in much more effort. This gentleman or this lady then the normal pace of the hours and allowance for a job represent 25% of the normal time. Normal time, remember, is around 8 hours. So question is, what is the normal time and the standard time? Let us understand and how do we calculate the normal time and the standard time for a job, which is for 8-hour shift, need to produce 20 units, but probably the allowances for the job is around 25% of the time. So normal time is time work, right? Time work is what? 8 hours. 8 hours into 60 minutes is 48 minutes. Am I clear? So performance divided by the number of units to be produced standard is 220. This is 20 plus 10% extra that the gentleman or the lady is putting it out. So what is the normal time? It is absolutely 26.4 minutes that the person takes around here. So standard time, what becomes the standard time? Standard time is something which is very, very easy, which we have already calculated. The normal time is 26.4 minutes as has been mentioned out here. 1 minus allowances, 25% is your allowances. 25 divided by 100 is 0.25. So you will see there is something called 35.2 minute. Now, did I say 10% increase that the worker is putting it around? Now, look at the thing that comes with the workers. The work usually, as far as understanding of the company takes, in an 8-hour shift, 20 mobiles can be made. That means a mobile will take approximately 35.2 minutes. But since the employee is working 10% extra hard, he or she has been able to complete it within 26.4 minutes. I hope this simple formula will make you understand of what exactly is normal time, what exactly is standard time, and how do we come across to the solution. Let us come with a sampling of a work. Let us understand work sampling. Remember, coming to a conclusion to make statement on a work activity based is a sample of an activity. So I can do a lot of work altogether, but I can take random sample as an inference, as an understanding how to go across it. So there is something called a ratio delay, which is activity time, percentage of a workers or equipment, performance measurement, which is basically nothing but relates to the work time and to the output, as in performance and input, work time that you've already put in most of the cases, it might be 8 hours. To the output that you have number of unit that you have produced would be 20 units. So 480 minutes divided by 20 or something like that. Time standard is the standard task time usually take. It's basically benchmark against the normal curve altogether. So advantages of work sampling over a time study, several work sample studies may be conducted simultaneously. So we can study a lot many jobs, lot many work altogether, and I do not need to go through the whole gamut of 8 hours of shift to understand what a person is working around it. Sample time, I may study him or her for 15-20 minutes and extrapolate it to next 480 minutes or 8 hours shift. The observer need to be trained analyst unless the purpose of the study is to determine the time standard. No timing device is required because it is something which is randomly guessed altogether, keeping probably approximate time of 15-20 minutes. Work of a long cycle time may be studied with a fewer observation of hours, as I've already said. Long, when I say it might be a week's job or a month's job, probably you can circulate or probably dedicate around few hours, 3, 4, 5 hours, and that's more than enough as a sample method. So duration of the study is longer, which minimizes the effect of short period variation. When the duration is longer, remember, so it might the anomalies, the changes might get impacted, might not get impacted at all, which absolutely minimizes altogether. Is iron out. Is a law of averages that catches up. The study may be temporarily delayed at any point of time, probably with or without any effect. Because work sampling needs only instantaneous observations made over a long period, the operator has less chance to influence the finding by changing work method, as in working extra 25%, 10%, putting going slow. So I might sample the work sample of a gentleman or a lady or an employee out there right at the beginning of his or her shift, probably randomly twice in between the shift and at the fag end of the shift. So basically, this employee might be full of energy at the very beginning of the shift, and the energy level would have diminished by the end of the shift. But then there's the curve that comes around it, and if I have taken 4 sampling efforts, I can very well understand how this employee would be performing over a period of time. So let us now come to the compensation system. Now, what are we looking into it? We are looking for an hourly payment, we are looking at a straight line payment, the piece rate payment, and the commission. The commissions is somewhere down the corner. It's an incentive that has been given to perform better. So if you are 20 units of mobile phone in an 8-hour shift, you are going around it. But if you perform better and come up with 26.4 mobiles or 26 mobile as such, that means 6 mobiles has been extra. So can I give you an incentive? That's what the commission is all about. On the other hand, I don't give you a commission. What I do, I give you a piece rate system. For every mobile that you produce, I will give you as an employee $9 or $14 or $19 per se, right, for every mobile. So at the end of the day, be it 20 mobile that I produce, 26 mobile I produce, or only 16 mobile I produce, multiply the number of the rate that have come around. That's a piece rate system. So it's a motivation is already built in. Similarly, called a straight salary, it is you have been paid bi-monthly or monthly basis or a weekly basis, wherein you work for as an employer, and there's a bulk amount that you take home, probably 200, 250, 300, or let's say $799 that you take it home. And then there is something called hourly charges, wherein approximately $29 or $10 or $17, which whatever rate which has been fixed on an hourly basis, and you need to put in the number of hours to work around it. So what is the advantages of hourly payment? That you need not work for 8-hour shift. You can work for 4-hour shift on a day. On a day when you are having a lot of leisure time, you can very well go on for 8-hour shift, provided if the legal laws of the land can permit, you can very well work for 10-hour shift too. So every compensation system, be it hourly, straight salary, piece rate, and a commission, has their own benefits. Financial incentive plans, definitely yes. We have the individual and the small group plans, which can be, I say it can be output measured, it can be quality measured, and the pay for knowledge measures, as the case might be. The output measures is the number of product, the number of mobile that comes around. Instead of 20, can it be 26? It's the output measures. It's the quality measures. Now I can produce 26 mobiles, but probably 6 of my mobiles is not up to the mark. So essentially that means it goes a defunct product. So quality remains another criteria that goes around it. And definitely pay for know-how or knowledge is what comes around. So these are their incentive plans for the individual on a group basis. Then comes the organization-wide plans, which is profit sharing, which is all your cost and the revenue. So revenue minus your cost becomes your profit. From the profit, you can share something. On the other hand, is gain sharing. Gain sharing is something needs to understood. There are costs, nothing has been taken into consideration. All the revenue that you generate, and it might have the cost, but you are not calculating or deducting the cost. All the revenue you have generated, a percentage of a revenue is to be shared. So please understand, gain sharing is based on revenue, profit sharing is based on profit. That means revenue minus cost is what your profit, and then the percentage if there. So bonus based on the controllable units or cost of the unit output, and similarly participative management, as in what you are looking into it, and these participative management at the very beginning of the job, very beginning of the project, everything has been clarified clearly, distinctly spoken around with all and one and every person. We come to the next thing is the standalone plan. It's basically standards for judging business performances, and this is what is very important. Please understand, if the ratio is total labor cost versus the sale value of the production. Remember the total labor, the total employee cost divided by the revenue that has come around it. Whatever the sale value of the production is all about it. So you have your labor cost and the sale value, the product that you have done, what was the revenue that comes around it. So if the bonus depends on the reduction in cost below the present ratio, definitely yes, if you can go around it. The production committee, the screening committee, they will come watching this video. I am sure that most of you understood what is being meant by work measurement and job designing. Thank you once again for watching this video so minutely. Thank you very much.